We're in with the music. So, hi you all. Hi again. Of course, you know I'm Sandra Turgott from Beyond. And of course, Tiffany introduced herself. So we're here with Tiffany Parker and of course my co-host, Aaron George. Hey. And of course, we did a little dance off. Okay, so welcome again. And I'm going to just move over to Aaron. He's going to state our objectives for tonight.
All right, so again, thank you folks for joining us at Beyond Talk. It's a social mentoring forum. It's a place to engage community in thought-provoking conversation about real-life issues, triumphs, pain, grief, growth, success. The space is designed to inspire you to foster transformation and healing.
Good. All right. We just want to review. We want you all to know that the music we played, we don't have the rights, so we just want to make a disclaimer. And we may use quotes, or we may use poetry, and we don't have the right to none of those. We're just borrowing, okay? That's all we're doing. We're borrowing. Like the beautiful song that we just played from Tina Campbell, We Live In like this. We live in just like that. All right, so let's get into our conversation. Please join us. Please sign in. Please like. Please comment. Please engage with us. We ask you. So we're talking about intuition, and Tiffany, intuition, and why do we want to take a closer look at the intuitive self? So I'm getting tongue-tied here. We realize that we live in a noisy world. It's difficult sometimes to hear ourselves or even find our way, right? Mm-hmm. And it's hard to be authentic, to be real, to just be. A lot of people are finding that they're getting lost in this. There's a lot of negativity. It's a lot of stress, mm-hmm. a lot of anxiety, mm-hmm. That a lot of things happening. So that's what we want to talk about it, because there's a deeper self in there somewhere.
Absolutely,
a deeper self. So we want to talk about it. Someone said intuition is really seen with the soul. Do you believe this? Do you believe it's seen with the soul?
I actually do, and I believe even more than that the intuition is actually the true self. This is the stillness within all the noise. This is what pulls us back in when the world tries to pull us out. So I truly do believe in that quote, and I do believe that it goes even beyond than that itself.
Mm-hmm. I totally agree. What do you think, Aaron? Do you believe?
That's very powerful, and that's a great perspective. I like the fact that, have to be pulled out,
mm-hmm.
And that is something that I think most people awaken to,
mm-hmm.
Maybe after going through an event, life-changing event, when they start to ask all the right questions.
That's it.
And because, we are spirit,
mm-hmm.
and we're guided by spirit,
mm-hmm.
and so we're going from the unconscious to the conscious when we ask those questions to make us more fully aware of who
mm-hmm.
we are,
mm-hmm.
and
wow.
then to be able to give control to the spirit, and be led by the spirit, which is tied to the intuition, right?
It does, and as the youngins would say, that means we are woke.
We're woke.
We are woke.
Wow. It's amazing. Don't we all want to be woke?
We do.
I love that word.
This is where I believe that life truly begins to happen. This is when you no longer operate as an empty shell, but you operate truly from a space of essence, from a space of knowing, from a space of gut, from a space of being. You're not just existing anymore. But when you connect with that intuition and you become woke, as I mentioned, this is from a space of you're being one with all that is.
Isn't that amazing?
It's the best place to live from.
But that's where we should be living from.
I agree.
So tell me, because I asked this question of myself, so
mm-hmm.
tell me, why are we not living from that space? Why we go the hard way? Why do we go the hard road, if you may. Why are we not living from there?
That's a good question. With honesty, how I even came into this intuitive space is trauma.
Yeah.
Life brought me here. So I don't actually believe that people deliberately not want to live from this intuitive space. Sometimes they just haven't been called upon to live there.
Tell us a little bit more about that. Called upon.
Life hasn't happened.
Life hasn't happened.
Life has not happened. Pardon me, but you haven't been through enough yet.
To really depend.
You haven't been through enough yet to push you to that space where you are called upon to live beyond what you're seeing, to live beyond your natural experiences. Usually in that space, you're sort of just going with life. You're going with wherever life takes you. And it would sound as though it's saying you're going with the flow, but no, not really. Usually when we talk about going with the flow, it's more connected to the intuitive self. But when you're just going where life takes you, there's no real sense of direction. There's no real purpose in your doing. You're simply just doing because you're doing.
Right, Tiffany. Isn't that so amazing? Because we're talking about walking with purpose. And I found that if you're going to truly walk with purpose, you must know yourself on a deeper level. Because it's that deeper guide, it's that deeper, I call it flashlight, that really helps you along the path. And it's not what you're seeing out here, it's really what's happening in there. And that can be a little bit tricky, because sometimes, I don't know if this happened to you both, but when you're living from the inside out, it can feel, it's not lonely for you, but it can feel lonely around, you can feel lonely around others.
Correct.
Do you agree?
I agree.
That you could be in a room full and still feel lonely because you retrieve.
Right.
I find that I retrieve a lot.
So you're an inner person, like you're.
I go there a lot, because that's where I ask questions, that's where I seek, that's where I search, that's where I find.
Right.
So I go there.
Like, honestly, the words that you're using to describe this is giving me chills.
Oh, wow.
And the reason why, because it's a language that I understand so deeply. It is, because usually when I go into a space, I am not just being reactive in the space, but I'm really coming from a space of sensing and knowing and hearing what my inner man is saying. How do I respond to this environment? How do I respond to those that are around me?
Yes.
What is the best way? And I'll be honest, sometimes my emotional needs and my emotional sense, depending on where I'm at or what I'm dealing with, sometimes want to triumph over the intuitive knowing and the intuitive self. But in my experience, I've found that after seeing how you perform in an area based on from an emotional space and from an intuitive space, we tend to desire more and try more to live from that space of intuition, because usually it gives us a result that's more rewarding.
It does.
You know?
If we listened, if we're there. Yes, go ahead.
I'm very
Go ahead.
curious because you're dynamic. and as you're here talking, I'm trying to go back to see the very point when that awakening happened. What was that like? What steps?
What happened?
Where did you get the information? How did you know that you know? You know, what discipline do you follow to re-energize, to restore, to build this great connection, this intuitive connection that you have?
That's a good question. I'm going to go all the way back to primary school. And if those of you that are watching, and you guys here as well, I don't know if you've been following. Well, you have been following the journey.
Course.
You have been.
I go on Facebook and who do I see? Tiffany Parker.
I have
What's going on?
so much to say. Source is
following.
doing it. It's not me. It's just all this inspiration that keeps coming. But as I went back to Jamaica a couple weeks ago, I was there about 3 weeks ago, and I went back to the primary school where it actually first began. I remember one day after school had ended, I was at the back of the school, and I remember there was this level of consciousness that says, every day someone dies and every day someone else is born. I'm thinking, what business of you to be knowing this at your age? I think I was in grade 4, and just the awareness that I had at that time made me know at that moment that there's something that is different about you. I remember always having that feeling of being on the inside, looking out, very conscious and aware of everything that was going on around me, being overly sensitive. So starting back then, yes, and then I would say 10 years ago, life happened. Things sort of fell apart. I had no true sense of self. Everything that I knew as self had shattered. And in order to pull myself out of that, I had to start asking myself questions. Who are you?
Who are you?
Why are you here? Then I became conscious that there was this internal person that was separate from my thoughts,
Right.
that seemed to knew me more than I knew myself, and knew me more than my thoughts wanted to tell me who I was. And life simply just forced me to come into it. And then also this intense realization that I couldn't really do anything unless I felt it.
Right.
To make solid decisions, I had to feel it. And this is separate from an emotional feeling. This is a feeling in a stomach level. It's a knowingness. And I recognized that in making my decisions and making my choices and going about life from that space of gut and from that feeling, that I was getting more of the results that I wanted.
That you wanted, yeah. But answer me this, or maybe I should ask Aaron, what about when you go the opposite? Because we do that too. Sometimes we get those gut feeling. We know we're not supposed to do it. Like something is saying, don't go, don't do it, or whatever it is. Don't make that deposit. Don't go to that. Don't start that relationship, whatever it is. And that something is telling you, but everything on the outside looks fluff and good, right? So you go along with it. Tell us. Tell our viewers what that feel like and what's the end result, because usually the end result is devastating, right?
I would say it's confusion.
Yes.
And not being able to clearly distinguish, your intuition speaking to you and your own mindset, be it, at that point in time, it's probably negative, and it's fear, it's all the wrong things, and if you go that way, right, it's just going to lead to bad results, and I personally have been there, where I know and I feel it within me that there's something that I shouldn't do,
Right.
but I go against it.
Yes.
And maybe not today, but eventually, right, you're gonna pay the price.
There's consequences for going against it. That gut feeling.
Definitely. But I like something that you said resonated with me. It's like when you had that downfall 10 years ago, you went back to what you knew. You went back to what you knew, and I think that there was a separation. But when that separation came, the comfort, the safety, the guidance just pulled you right back in, and then this time around, you built it stronger and better than ever before, where you're out in a platform and teaching and sharing other people with your experience, and because you know what you know now, there's no doubt. You know what you know.
It's honestly the purest space to live from.
Yes.
And I can say that I even up until today, don't make decisions that might not be intuitive. And it sounds weird to say that, because I'm supposed to be an intuitive guy. I'm supposed to be the wise one.
But you're human.
But the human side of me, that we're always working with the intuition to build or to evolve to that higher sense of who we are, is always growing. And a lot of times, regarding even the question that you asked, a lot of times our emotional needs are so great that we do not listen to our intuition.
And it's now, and we want it now.
We want it
and
now.
It's easy.
I'm lonely.
Right.
I'm
Let me
feeling
take it
lonely,
now.
so I need to connect with that person.
Yes,
Even though I'm getting all the signs that, you know what, you shouldn't go after this, but for some reason, you just can't resist it.
Isn't that something?
It is.
And we know that it's going to hurt.
Right.
I think sometimes that we're a culture that likes pain too. Because we get something to feel and something to cry about, and because the warnings are there, but we do it anyways. I do it. The warnings are there. The writing is on the wall. You're feeling to your gut. You're uneasy. You know that you shouldn't step in there, but you do it for the instant gratification. But you know that instant gratification is going to cause you pain.
Or it's also that habit, that condition. We've conditioned ourselves to be in that loop, that cause and effect loop, right? And it's very difficult to get out of that. Like you said, you wake up to it and say, hey, this is not working. Why am I, sabotaging myself? Why am I always in this punishment loop? Right? I deserve more. I deserve better. And then until we start changing how we think about ourselves, and doing the work, right? Doing the decluttering, getting in there and figuring out, what am I holding on to that allows me to continue to punish myself this way because I deserve better, right? You got to do that work. Would you agree?
100% agree. I was just looking at something that my eyes go down here. Go ahead.
Dare I say that I know some of those that are watching now are saying, but what about when I choose my intuition and the outcome is not favorable? Dare I say that it's intended for growth?
Yes.
Intuitive choices does not necessarily mean perfect outcomes.
No. I totally agree.
And those were some of the hardest lessons for me. And a lot of time when I do my coaching and my intuitive guides, I'll have some of my clients say to me, but Tiffany, I had a gut feeling and I thought this was the right thing. And I said, yes, it was the right thing, but life is not all about smooth sailing. It doesn't mean that all things are going to go quote unquote perfect.
Not always a rose garden, right?
So it's always interesting when people get that when I say that to them, they're always pretty shocked.
Yeah, but I think, and thanks for bringing up that point. It's not always smooth sailing, right? But I think there has to be a balance, between the logic and the emotion.
Absolutely.
And experience. And experience, and let those be your guide before jumping into certain things. Because you could have feelings in your stomach, but those feelings could just be, fear or anxiety or misguided feelings.
So the thing is that you got to know. When it's your intuition, where I call it that God place. I call it that place where it's you and God. Remember, we have a relationship with God, and God speaks. It's subtle. It's like a whisper, but it's down in your gut. It's something that stirs you. A lot of people think you hear it. You're hearing it audibly in your ears. People say they do, but for me, it's usually that God place. It's somewhere deeper, somewhere that no one can touch. It's just a secret place where He reasons with me. So I feel like when it's really coming from there, as you say, even if you walk in the fire, even if it's there, I need you to step in the fire, it shouldn't burn you. It should teach you. You should be growing.
You're right.
So if it's a bad thing that you're walking in, quote unquote, a bad thing, and that intuitive self is saying, it's okay, you can step in there. Then you can step in there trusting that there's something greater on the other side of that. You kind of have to walk through that path to get there.
So if I understand what you're saying, so this is something that you build up over time. You build this place, so it's a comfortable place, a secure place, where you can go and center and get that clarity on information that you need to make those decisions.
It's a relationship with your higher being, whatever you want to call it, your higher. I call it God. So I like to say, this is where I go, God. We are one. He's in me, I'm in him. But a lot of times we walk separate. Or we're not listening, because it's not the outer ear that you listen with. It's I call it a spiritual ear. It's deeper, and when you listen with that, and sometimes we operate on our emotions and we get into stuff, and that intuitive self is saying, hey, you just made an error. And you're like, but it's too late now. I can't fix this.
Tiffany said
it's too late. It's too late. And then that intuitive self said, it's okay. It's going to take you a number of months or maybe a number of years to get through this, but I'm with you.
Right. So the intuitive self, don't freak out.
Don't freak out. Basically,
everything's under control.
Basically, helping you
Just
to
gotta
relax.
Right.
Let's walk through this.
There's absolutely
Yes.
a way to
Yes.
recover, and
Yes.
that's what I love
Yes.
about it. But I do want to say as well that the intuition is a muscle.
It is a muscle.
And I before I even talk about that as we're having this conversation, you mentioned something earlier about, or I think you did, regarding whether or not, how do you know if it's fear or if it is your intuition? The way how I've been able to distinguish it is intuition sits low and it sits heavy and solid within the gut area. I find that fear and anxiety tends to rise up in the chest area, in the head. You begin to overthink and overanalyze. Intuition is very solid. It's something that does not require questioning.
No.
For example, if you wanted to know what to do and for some reason you had a difficult time making a decision, what I tend to tell people is to sleep on it. Sleep on it. And I know as human beings, we want to have everything figured out. We feel like we should know now. Sleep on it. And when you get up tomorrow, it might not come to you right away, but it could be a couple of hours into the day. Once you feel like you've forgotten about it, all of a sudden, boom. Something solid just hits you and you're like, now I know what to do. So again, distinguishing it between fear and anxiety, it's solid. It sits low. It's a knowing. It's unquestionable.
It's
you
a
just
deeper
know that you
knowing.
know. When people say, how do you know? I just know.
And speaking about fear, so you could know, but then the fear perks its head up. You know that you're supposed to do this, or you know that you're supposed to quit this job. Let's use this job. You know you're supposed to move. It's there in the gut. It's saying it's time. But then fear says, what if? What if you quit this job? And what about tomorrow? What about the bills? What about? And then you disobey that intuitive knowing, and you know. Can you speak to that?
I can, and I think I do want to mention the fact that each person's journey is different. And by Sandra mentioning about, you're supposed to perhaps quit a job, but you hold on because of the fear of it. What I would suggest is to be centered in who you are, be centered in where you're getting your directions from, whether it be from God, source, spirit, whatever it is that you believe in. My job is not to impose or to tell you what to believe. But once you are centered and you're coming from a space of knowingness, even if there are the thoughts, even if there's the thought of fear as to how is this going to unfold?
Yes.
How am I going to do it if I leave? Once you get that solid response to say, move forward, I dare you to trust it.
Yes.
And to accept it as life unfolds.
So there's a level of trusting.
There's a level of
trusting that guide is with you all the time.
And that's
it's
what
going to guide you.
separates those that have risen to the top and those who will just remain as dreamers, wanting to accomplish, but
They take the
are always
risk.
afraid to.
They take the risk. They hear it, bam, and they go for it. Yep. I love it. I love it.
I think it's hearing it, but also knowing that they have within themselves the know-how to make things happen.
For sure.
They have goals, they have, measurements that they're going to use to make sure that they stay on track, right, and to achieve whatever outcome that they're looking for.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So it's pretty powerful.
Absolutely.
So Aaron, are there specific steps that a person could take to become more intuitive? If our listeners are wondering, well, I don't know if I'm intuitive. I don't know that I get those nudges. I don't feel them. I don't know.
Well,
what should I do
I
to
think
become
those nudges are always there. It's something I think we're born with. It's not you have it, I don't have it, they don't have it. I think we all have it. It's with us all. We're conditioned, first of all, as kids. We're told what to do, when to do it, and we're told who to be. We're not even told to be ourselves and to get connected to who we are, right? So most of us, we get to where you are after going through some kind of a trauma, and we start asking questions, and we start getting into exploring, who am I? And start asking those questions. And I think we have to do a decluttering, declutter. deal with all the trauma. You know, there's there's no gold medal for carrying all your baggage with you to a certain age, right?
No.
We have to deal with those uncomfortable stuff.
You're right.
Heal from it.
You're right.
Get connected to who we are. Have a practice. Have a place to go.
Yes.
You know, in our mind, in our room, or wherever, that place where we can be with ourselves, our higher self, and get connected to that higher self, so that we know that we know that we know. Whenever we are challenged to make a decision, we just quiet ourselves, go into that place, get grounded, and get firm in the direction we're going for ourselves. So it is a practice. There are things. It's like developing a skill, like you said,
Right.
it's a muscle.
It's a
right?
muscle.
There are things that needs to be done, but I think decluttering is
Taking
a big
out
part
that
of it,
stuff, taking
because-
out the stuff
Yeah.
that happened to you,
Yeah,
the stuff that were told to you. Like I know that I had to do a lot of work around that. I share all the time that I was told growing up that I was black and ugly, and that did a number on me. And I had to clear that and declutter that to start feeling beautiful and coming into who I really am. And I found that through spending time with myself.
That's it.
And journaling and writing the truth about what God said about me, and so over time I was able to erase those lies. So I no longer believe that I'm black and ugly like they say. Like, and you feel black and ugly, whatever that is, but you actually feel like you're not beautiful. You don't even smile because you feel like I'm ugly, so nobody would even care for my smile. Then I found out that, look at me. Somebody told me
How
one
could
time.
they?
How could they? Right?
They obviously do know what they're talking about.
Exactly.
No clue at all.
Exactly. Somebody told me that. I was like, can you imagine when I actually look in the mirror now? I'm
Yeah.
like, seriously? They actually said that. That's not true at all. And how many little boys and girls are hearing these
I
negative
know.
things spoken over their lives, right? So you're right about decluttering. And when you declutter that space, you realize that you can hear from a deeper space.
Right.
A lot of people don't get to experience that though, because I believe the stuff cover that place.
You're right.
The stuff
We're
is
so
there.
externally focused,
Right,
too, right?
right.
I mean, it's not common talk for us to meditate, for example,
Yeah.
Exactly.
in our culture, right? Meditation is not something we talk about. Getting into that quiet place to connect with yourself is not common language. I mean, it's growing, but it's not, it wasn't something that I was told at 10 years old or even 20 years old, right? I discovered this in my mid-20s, right?
And it's so interesting that you say that, because during this period of time when I was going through the rediscovering myself,
I love that word.
Different-
Rediscovering yourself.
different ways that had worked for me in the past no longer did. I desired more peace, and I desired more tranquility,
More
and I
quietness,
desired
eh?
more sitting with myself and being with myself and being one with me and connecting with me and being like, Tiffany, what do you like? Who are you? So, I mean, as you ask about what does it really take for that one person or that person who is saying, how do I become more intuitive? Be okay with your own company. Sit still.
Wow.
Just chill out by yourself for a moment. If you choose to take a journal with you, you can. If you choose to sit in the park, you can.
Right.
If you choose to go for a long walk, you can. And I am one of who likes to talk about freedom of being. I don't believe in necessarily one ideal formula, because then if use myself as an example. Again, in that same process of self-discovery, I've had individuals who said, Tiffany, this is the formula. This is what you need to do in order to experience this.
Right.
Some things didn't work for me
Didn't work
because
for
my
you.
temperament is different, my
Right,
personality is
right,
different, my
right.
needs are different. Perhaps I'm more sensitive than some. So I had to figure out, what is it that really worked for me? And again, I had to dig deep. Tiffany, who are you? What makes you tick? What is causing you to feel the way you're feeling? And I dare say it's a continued journey.
It is.
And
It
as
is
you
a
talk
continued
about
journey.
even the things that were
Yes.
said to you as a little girl,
Yes.
every day I get up, I have to choose to be who I know I am.
You have to. It's a
Not-
choice. I love
not,
that.
Not,
Every
not
day.
what's been told to me.
Every
As a
day.
kid, I had terrible cross eyes.
There.
And they would tease me, cross-eyed duppy, how many fingers? And it took me a while to really come into that solidness of self and really releasing myself from who they said I was.
Right.
Wow.
So it's an intense
Wow.
journey.
Definitely.
It is a
Definitely.
journey. It
And,
is a journey.
that you have to change the self-talk, develop your own self-talk. I like that. That's very powerful.
Mm-hmm.
And just reprogram, that
Yep.
your brain and
For sure.
and get on the right track. But it's a great place to be,
It is. It is.
Wow. I had take time away from the noise and spend time with you.
You're right.
And that is so hard for some people to do. Some people say, I hate being alone. I don't want to, I want to go out. I want to be out. I want to be having fun.
Yeah.
But for you to get on a deeper level with yourself, you really have to take time away. You really have to. That's something that has to be on your calendar. It's on your to-do list. Time with me, because I feel like when you spend time with yourself, you become naked. You become raw, and you're seeing the true you.
You're right.
but it's frightening.
It is frightening.
It can be.
It is
It can be
frightening,
frightening.
but that's the work. I
Yeah.
believe that's the journey.
Right.
If you're not doing that,
Yeah.
you have to start doing that, because when you see yourself, you understand yourself in truth. I feel like you're more solid. You cannot be. Nobody can tumble you over, and nobody can do things to you to cause you to be in excessive pain. Like some people get so upset about everything, right? Like sometimes I shake my head, I'm like, seriously, it's not that serious. But get upset, that
Or
upset
being
for
well
that.
secure with ourselves.
Yeah, so I said it's not that serious. If you really know who you are, and I really, the reason why I'm so passionate about these subjects is because I find that in our community, we don't talk about it enough, and people are not so much concerned about who they are. People are concerned about what they do, the next degree, the next car, the next house, the next. It's in the outer sphere, but I believe you're going to be solid and standing firm and standing. That's what I say, standing. When you know who you really are, you're not going to be easily moved. And I would love for everyone listening to start the work. And if you don't know how, call me. I promise I'll help you, because I'm passionate about this work. It's a deeper work. Money can't buy it.
You're right.
Money cannot buy it.
You're absolutely right. So dare I say again that the intuitive self is the true self. It's your very essence. It's who you are.
It's who you are.
It's that which existed before this physical form existed.
But I think it starts with a desire. That
Yes.
yearning. It's
Yes.
not going to be an intellectual thing.
No,
you get up one day, you say,
no.
well, Sandra's right,
I'm gonna read a few books.
It's an
I
emotion.
read a few books.
It comes from that emotion, that longing,
Yearning.
that yearning
For
that
more,
you have
for more.
right? And being tired of that loop,
Same
that loop, and the way to change is to go within.
Beautifully said. It's to go within.
Go within,
Turn the lights in.
right?
Everything. So I don't know how much time we have, but a lot of I find that people will turn to before the light goes in. You notice that culturally we put the lights out and we see everybody else. We kind of we have a word for those people. We call them gossipers, right? So because they see everything about everybody else, but the light is not going in. And the moment you kind of show them, then what about you? Then you think it could be something about you that's causing so. It's like, oh no, what are you saying? I get that a lot. I try to help people to look within. I said, well, there's something within that's causing you to be triggered by them.
You're right.
There's something within that's causing you to be so on edge all the time.
You're right.
It's not them.
No.
You're right.
But how do we help our community? I kind of know, but let me ask
Well,
anyway.
as we're having
How
a
do we
convers-
actually help them to
You wanna answer that?
look, to put the light in, to go, like you say, inside out?
Right. Very good question. But again, I think it's people who are looking for the answers authentically, who want to make a difference, who want to change. They see something that they desire, they aspire to be like, right? When they get to that point, then you know they're ready for change. But I don't think you can make them. we can, there's the old saying, you can bring a horse to water, we can't make it drink. You know what I mean? We can be putting all kinds of information out there, but it's only going to resonate to those people who are at that point where they want to change, they're ready to commit, they're ready to do whatever it takes to change.
Wow.
Right?
And it all depends on your level of life satisfaction. Again, as mentioned before, trauma was what brought me to this space. And wanting more and not being okay with what I had. And not just physical having, but not okay with the experiences that I was having. And dare I say I'm perfect? Spiritually, yes. But as a human being, no.
No.
I'm still unfolding and I'm still becoming. And every day it's still a journey. And every day I'm still learning. But there was a solid moment in my life, and there continue to be moments that makes me want to continue this journey. So if you are there right now and this conversation is triggering that within you, you're starting to ask, who am I really? Why am I here? What should I be doing? Then you're beginning the process of being awakened.
Who am I really?
And there's nothing more powerful than one who's awakened to their spirit and their intuition.
Wonderful.
And that's a dope space to be.
That's a dope space. I love it. That is
it's a healing space.
It is
That's
a healing
a dope
space.
space to be.
It is a healing space.
My word. Healing.
It is a healing space.
It is a healing space. It's the best
You got to get on this journey.
space to be.
Definitely.
Oh my goodness. And as my dear sister said, it's not being perfect,
No.
but it's knowing.
It's knowing.
It's knowing that there's a safe space within you
Yes.
that you can retrieve to, and and every time you go in, you come out even more beautiful. I call it more radiant. I don't want to brag about myself, but I don't want to, but when I walk into a space, I am so blessed that the first thing people will say, you have such great energy, or you're so comforting or relaxing. Those are words people, strangers say those words to me. So I believe it's because I go back and I feel like I like to say I continue to clean house, to make inside peaceful,
I get it.
if you may, and somewhat pure, if you may. Even though I myself go through struggles, I'm not there yet, but I tend to go back in. This was such an amazing conversation. We're just on the tip of the iceberg. We're not even down deep yet. This is a conversation that we have to continue.
For sure.
Just talking about our deeper self. If our viewers have questions, we say, please reach out to us. There's Aaron George from Aaron George, Coach Aaron, and myself, Sandra Turgott from Beyond, and Tiffany Parker from
The True You,
The
as
True
an intuitive
You.
guide and an advisor to those who are seeking to come into the fullness of who you are and to connect with the intuitive self. That's me. I'm your guide.
That's Tiffany. If you have questions and you have something that's on your mind, you can send it. You can keep commenting, keep saying your piece. We want to hear. We'll answer after, and we'll keep the conversations going. All right. So
you can reach us by email at beyond, BYOND, online, ONLINE, @gmail.com.
yeah, let's talk. Let's talk some more.
Conversation going.
Keep the
Again,
conversation
I truly
going.
had an amazing time, guys. This conversation was definitely an epic one, and one that needs to continue to go on. So
Definitely.
thank you for having me. Thank you for joining me in the
We'll have you
conversation.
back.
I'm excited to be
pleasure.
here.
We'll have you back. Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers. Aaron, where's your class, Aaron?
Growing.
Cheers.
Growing, evolving, becoming.